Well, there are some very profound economic and I think also social, cultural, political changes going on. I'm going to focus and have focused predominantly on economics and politics, though I think the cultural aspect of it is clearly very important. Ease of communication means ideas and images which circulate in one part of the world circulate immediately in all parts of the world, and therefore you get reactions that you would never historically have expected when societies were still relatively hermetically sealed. So those are important. In terms of economics, well, first of all, there's been a huge opening of every economy to the world. It's become more integrated in the world, more dependent on trade, and this is not just in goods. It's also true in services. Indeed, that for the first time, large parts of services, those bits that can be turned into bits and put into computers and sent down wires, these bits of services are more tradable than goods. So that's an enormous revolution. It has encouraged also a huge expansion in FDI, which has grown about 2.5 times as fast as the world economy in the last 15 years. And that's linked with the opening to foreign know-how, which comes with foreign direct investment. And it's been true of the US and it's been true of China. Quite different countries have accepted that. So it's another here, the rise of trade, the rise of foreign direct investment, therefore the rise of the multinational as a major player. There have been associated with all this increasingly some very big changes in relative prices. Obviously, the prices of computing and communications have collapsed, we know that, but there's been shifts in the relative price of unskilled labour, declines in the developed world particularly, partly because of the increased competition from low-wage areas and partly because of the new technologies which have given a big relative increase to the rewards of highly skilled people. So that's another very important factor, probably more important. So unskilled position has deteriorated, leading to either lower wages or higher unemployment, depending on how each economy manages its welfare state. That's a big challenge for the welfare state. And finally, in the recent period, we're seeing a big increase in demand for resources because the growth of China and to a lesser degree India is very resource intensive, very energy intensive. They're generating a very large part of the global incremental demand for resources. About 45% of world incremental demand for oil is coming from these countries, much more than from the existing developed countries. It's a big change, and that's going to continue because they're at a very energy intensive phase of their development. Then, so these are very profound economic changes. Then with globalization, we have what I call the globalization of bads. It's not just good things that are traded freely, also so are bad things like narcotics and trafficking in people. Problems about managing the flows of disease across a border have also increased. We're worried about piracy and counterfeiting of products. Some of this is less important, but some, for instance, if you're talking about the counterfeiting of engine parts for airplanes or drugs, are very, very important indeed. And managing that is a big issue. Migration itself is trafficking people just part of that. And finally, there's a huge change in relative power going on as a part of these processes with the rise of new great powers. China has an economy, even at market prices, now bigger than Britain. It's going to be the second biggest economy in the world, probably the largest trader in the world within 10 years, possibly sooner. There's a big change in relative power. So a whole host of huge economic, political and social changes are underway.